Manipulators can drive anyone to a mental disorder, a nervous state, a serious illness, and even to suicide. In relationships with manipulators, we find ourselves very unprotected. But don't be upset. Today I will tell you 12 phrases and questions that will help you corner your manipulator. I am with you, psychologist Yulia Latunenko. And for 18 years now, I have been helping people build personal lives, restore relationships, and improve couple dynamics, maintain love between a man and a woman, as well as raise healthy children. I immediately warn you that this video is not about children's manipulations. This video concerns only the adults. And if you find yourself in a relationship with a manipulator, then you know how creatively he can approach the task of extracting your entire soul and getting a heap of negative emotions. You see how it shakes you. He derives great pleasure from it, and it's as if he feeds on your emotions. Therefore, your task will be not to give him these emotions. A little later, I will explain how this can be done. Psychologists say that if you are in a relationship with manipulators who can be narcissists, psychopaths, or individuals with borderline personality, they advise breaking off these relationships and escaping from such people. But in life, not everything is so perfect. And there are cases where a person connected to a manipulator might be dependent, or for some other reason cannot escape, because the manipulator could be your mother, your sick father, and feelings of guilt simply do not allow the person to leave their father, their parents, especially if they are also ill or elderly, and they manipulate as well. There are cases when a woman is on maternity leave, already has children, or is expecting a child, and the husband simply abuses and manipulates her. She is dependent on him. Where can she escape to? To escape, she still needs to reach a certain state. She also needs to prepare herself for leaving him, breaking off the relationship. And so in the case when you cannot leave your manipulator right now, you need to buy time to prepare for escape or breaking off the relationship. You can use these expressions and questions that I will give you today. These are tools, but to use them, you need to have the skill not to fall into your childhood trauma. There are two ways. The first one, you know it, many psychologists discuss it on YouTube. It's the gray rock method. This is when you, in response to your manipulator's provocations, simply remain silent or respond with monosyllables. Yes, no, okay, I don't know, maybe. With just a couple of words like that, and you say it in a gray, cold voice. In other words, you turn into stone. But those who have tried to use this method have already given their feedback because it doesn't work, since the manipulator knows that those strings of yours that they constantly pulls on, and he knows your weak spots, your vulnerabilities, and he hits the mark right on target with his provocations and manipulations. And now you're shaking, trembling from pain, from hurt, from anger. He knows how to extract that from you. So let's take a different path. I suggest a more reliable method. It's about cultivating in your inner personal space a kind of observer whom you, as soon as your manipulator starts to dive into a steep descent, you take this observer and bring it out beyond brutality, beyond your body. You have some persona, sub-persona that tells you, I am observing what is happening now. In your relationships, Mokpinyin with Vasya or Petya or mom or dad, and this observer constantly narrates, it names what is happening, but it does so with an inner voice, not necessarily out loud. Talking to psychopaths, manipulators, saying, I see what you're doing. Now he's manipulating, now he's trying to lie, now he's twisting the chronology of some of his actions. Now he's distorting logic, something like that. Now he's devaluing me, now he's trying to humiliate me. All of this is your inner observer. It is taken outside your body and placed somewhere nearby. Here you are, and your manipulator, and here a third person should be in your imagination who controls your emotions. It seems to distract you from your childhood trauma, and into which, well, many people, most people, when attached, come into contact with the manipulator. Additionally, to maintain emotional stability, I suggest you also imagine that from your legs, right from the heels, from the toes, roots grow, and they extend all the way to the center in the ground, yes? You feel how you stand very firmly, solidly with your feet on the ground. You feel your legs, feel your back, you partially focus on your state, on your breathing, and imagine that you are like a very old, strong tree with strong, deep roots, and no one can break you. No one can break you. That is to say, father, this skill requires you to be in a similar state as drivers who look in the rearview mirror, side mirror, and windshield. And they are also doing something with their feet, with their hands. At the same time, you transform into such a Julius Caesar, you will need to keep track of the state of your body. Imagine that you are a tree. Bring out your inner observer who will tell you what is happening between you and the manipulator. And at the same time, you will be saying phrases, these 12 phrases, 12 questions, statements that will corner your manipulator. But before I start listing these expressions, I remind you that this channel is young and it needs your likes, comments, and subscriptions. Subscribe to my channel, who has visited and hasn't done it yet. I would be very grateful, and I'm glad to have you. So the first expression or the first question you can ask your manipulator when they are trying to elicit emotions from you is this. Right, now tell me what is my reaction to you. Suits you best, the most, or you can replace it with the question right now, what are you expecting from me? If he continues to steer the conversation away, mamas, they are very good at doing, you bring him back again, like glue, directly latch onto him with these questions and say, no, stop, answer my question. When you tell me this, what are you expecting from me? What do you want me to respond with? What would satisfy you? What is an ideal reaction from me would satisfy you? You know that manipulators, they usually manipulate through guilt because they reproach, through shame, because they belittle and they devalue, as well as through fear of loss, either with the loss of contact with them or the loss of money or some things that are very important to you. If you have a car, he says, well, I'll take it from you if you don't do what I tell you. And so, despite all these manipulations, your observer says he is now manipulating your guilt, or he is now, look how he manipulates to make you afraid of losing your car right now. You ignore this manipulation and ask him these questions. The second question, it's similar to the first, but it's like a variation of that first point. Why are you telling me this? Right. Now, what do you want? Yes. He doesn't stop, he continues. He ignores what you're asking and you say, no. Please tell me, what do you want right now? What are your motives? Why are you telling me this? Do you, in addition to everything I listed at the beginning of this video, you also need to turn into such a parrot that repeats and repeats these fragments. So the third phrase, a statement that will help you buy time. Even if it's just a few minutes, when your manipulator stops, his brain will be hacked. Files will freeze. The computer will stop working for him. And in those few seconds, you can just take a pause and tell him, okay, sorry, I'm disconnecting. You're not answering my important questions, so I'm disconnecting. And I'll come back when I want to. And you can go to another room or even go outside for a walk. Yes, they run into the room after you. I know, because I've experienced it all myself. I've tested it. But you still insist the same thing, like a parrot, so that he leaves you alone. So the third point on this list is this: if the manipulator starts giving you some of their negative interpretations or devalues, belittles you, gives you some negative assessments, you tell them, I don't recognize myself in what you are saying about me right now. Of course, you can think whatever you want about me, you have that right. But I have a completely different opinion about myself. Therefore, we can stop this conversation. Fourth point. For example, you tell him, what do you want from me right now? He, of course, he comes up with some an absurd request that you simply cannot fulfill, and you tell him directly, listen, I cannot fulfill your request, and I don't want to fulfill it, and I will never fulfill it, or I won't fulfill it for some time, or I won't fulfill it right now. So he continues to attack you, and you tell him, listen, instead of what you're asking me now, what other options do you have? How else can I help you? Because what you're asking for, I will not do. If it goes against your interests and you don't want to do it, just say so directly and ask him what alternatives there are, what else you can do, how else can you help him, what else might satisfy him. And here's another great phrase you can use. This is already our fifth point. You underestimate how much you are currently causing harm to yourself, not me, but yourself. This puts the manipulator at a dead end, and for a few seconds he might actually freeze because he will be thinking, how am I bothering myself? How am I causing harm to myself here? In the 6th point, we have this situation. So if your manipulator demands you to report where you were, who you were with, what you are doing now, he calls you, for example, and demands that you tell him everything in detail, where you are, who you are with, what you are doing, because he is anxious or jealous. Such mothers say, or jealous husbands say they are worried. You're out there somewhere, and what if you get hurt or something happens to you? This is all disguised, hidden jealousy, male jealousy. Or for example, you said something, he yelled at you and then says, you made me like this, you provoked me, that's why I'm shouting. They can never take responsibility for their feelings, so you remind them of this. The 6th point, responsibility for one's feelings and for your reactions. You must take responsibility yourself. I am not responsible for what is inside you, including your feelings, your traumas, your fears, your anxieties. Your fears, anxieties, your jealousy, they should not be my problem. I don't want to, I'm not interested. They should not interfere with my life and exhaust me in this way. So please deal with your feelings yourself. But psychopaths, manipulators, narcissists always think that the cause of their feelings is external, not internal. But we know that feelings that arise in a person, in their own subconscious, and always, even if not entirely consciously, we make a choice about which feeling to experience in a given situation. In the same situation, we can either laugh, take offense, or be frightened. We subconsciously choose this emotional reaction. Therefore, the responsibility for emotions and feelings lies solely with the person who produces them with their subconscious. Our 7th point is this. Manipulators very often want you to take on a parental role towards them. That's why they are such. Children and the responsibility for feelings take it like a dad, and mom take for a child. And in general, they believe that you should cater to their needs. Therefore, you can often say a phrase like this: I will never do this because I didn't give birth to you. I'm not your mom. You're not my dad. So you seem to be putting these roles in their proper places. I am to you not a mom. I owe you nothing and you owe me nothing. This is a complex point, but all healthy adult relationships are generally based on this. Therefore, you should gradually introduce into your relationships with your loved ones, even if they are not manipulators or psychopaths, this kind of foundation. No one owes anything to anyone. We do everything only voluntarily, only out of a sense of love. And it either exists or it doesn't. We cannot demand this from a partner. How can you demand attention if he is no longer giving it? That's already a signal. So the question is for you, what are you doing next to him, demanding that attention, begging for it? Therefore, it either exists or it doesn't, and it's up to you to choose whether to stay with that person or not. But demanding love from them is a childish position. The eighth point is for when the manipulator has already lost their temper and is shouting or something. There they are demanding and already starting to resort to threats, becoming irrational completely. Then in this case, you say, I will not talk to you when you are shouting. If you do not come to a reasonable state, I will not talk to you. So go. Calm down, and when you are calm, we will talk about everything. I am waiting for you. That is, when you say I am waiting for you, it stabilizes him a little. Thank you. And of course, he won't stop immediately, but you stand your ground. And remember, you're taking on a bit of a parrot game. You repeat, I won't, when you stop this shouting, then we will talk. And like a parrot, you say this to him. The ninth point is when the manipulator starts to demand, blackmail, threaten you. You tell him, I don't understand and don't hear the language. Threats, humiliation, accusations, condemnation, devaluation. I don't understand any of this. I don't hear it. I don't speak this language. And you tell him, I only understand the language of requests, but hold on. For every request, every person has the right to refuse. So you tell him, but keep in mind that I won't fulfill all of your requests because you don't have the right to refuse. And you also have the right to refuse me. But this point is difficult to fulfill when you are dependent, when you are afraid that in response you won't receive some of the benefits you get from the manipulator. Or if you say this, you might feel a very strong sense of guilt. Especially if this happens in a relationship, for example, with a sick mother who manipulates, blackmails, yells, and yet you still tell her that, well, listen, I don't understand. You can ask me and I can say either yes or no to you because I have that right. So let's move on to point 10 of our list of statements and questions. But before I continue, I will remind you that I really count on your subscriptions, likes or dislikes if you don't like this video, your comments, and sharing this video on our social media. Or I have set myself a goal of 5,000 subscribers on my new channel by the new year. I am counting on your support. And now, point 10. Manipulators reproach you by saying that they have done a lot for you and you are so ungrateful. Then you simply tell them that you don't have to do anything for me that you don't want to do. Only do what you want and do it out of love. But if you do it, then don't demand any compensation from me for your good deeds towards me. You have the right not to do it, to refuse if I ask for something, and you can't do it. So refuse and don't do anything by force. I only welcome this. The 11th point concerns the situation when the manipulator slammed the door and left. When silence started ignoring you playing the silent game, he's silent, you talk to him, but he doesn't respond at all. Well, it's like childish silence. You can respond to him by saying that you can take a pause. For as long as you want to take, you have that right. And I respect it. If you're ready to come back, know that I'm waiting. And after that, you go about your own business. In such a case, you focus on your interests, your hobbies, your relationships with your friends. That is, this manipulator of yours remains in the background while you make yourself and your interests the focus of your attention. And the last point in our list of 12 concerns what you can all regulate to in your relationship with the manipulator. The topics you want or don't want to discuss, you simply tell him that on such and such topics, we will never discuss them. You simply do not engage in these conversations. For example, your mother, the manipulator, interferes in your relationship with your husband, so you stop her and say that this is a topic I will not discuss with you. Stop. We will not talk about this anymore. You remind them like a parrot, the same thing over and over. Manipulators are psychopathic little kids, around 5 years old, who scream and throw tantrums, so they need to be reminded like a fish's memory, and you remind and remind them. These are the points you can use in relationships with your close ones, relatives who are manipulators and psychopaths, narcissists. They will help you buy time to prepare for a more significant breakup with such a person. But remember, when using these phrases, you should observe everything from a distance. That is, your inner observer is externalized, and in your imagination it starts telling you or what your manipulative partner is doing to you. Don't forget not to fall into your childhood trauma and gain more stability. Board in contact with the manipulator, visualization of being a tree will help you with your roots growing all the way to the center of the earth. Imagine all of this and hold on, just hold on. And we demand for your future life, still take for yourself a course towards increasing the distance now from the manipulator, because they will never change. You will be better off at a distance. I'm not saying with your mom or dad you can completely cut off the relationship, and that's possible, and you have the right to do so if your mom or dad is very toxic. But you will choose a distance that will protect your psyche from the influence of such people. This was psychologist Yulia Latunenko with you. Subscribe to my channel, like and share this video, and together with you we will gain many new subscribers on this channel.